This is a presentation of the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Professional football in America is a special game, a unique game. Played nowhere else on earth, it is a rare game. The men who play it make it so.
I believe it's about character. It's about who you are, what do you stand for, integrity.
The game is about life, and it's about what you have to do to pick yourself up, to make yourself the best you can possibly be.
I got a scholarship to Nebraska. I had a 17-year career with the Vikings.
It is the ups and downs of the game, the turmoil. Those are all parts of life.
It is my duty, I believe, is to get that message out that you can live with integrity, but you have to have some God in your life to do that.
I've always wanted to be great at everything I've done. I've always been a competitor. I've always showed humility. I'm a team guy.
The values that it teaches you is A, diligence, B, perseverance. There are many more downs than there are ups.
This is such a spectacular game. It's a matter of one's dedication, one's belief in themselves as an individual to achieve greatness.
The game of football has taught me faith, it's taught me commitment, and it's taught me to have a tremendous resolve in whatever I plan to do, I'm going to get it done.
You never dream, no matter how good you may be, that you'll ever be in the Hall of Fame.
Living with integrity, I certainly, honor the values of the Hall of Fame.
This is an honor bestowed not only on me, but for every teammate that I had. All of these people should be celebrated, not just me. It takes the moment from me to everyone but me.
Honor the heroes of the game.
Preserve its history.
Promote its values.
And celebrate excellence everywhere.
Do everything with a purpose. Live, act, play, work with a purpose, with a passion, and most importantly, with honor. I am thankful to those who ignited that fire for me in my youth and stoked it year after year. Why am I out here if I am not going to be the best player on the field? And that's what my goal was, no matter what the task, and that became my purpose. I took great pride representing the Steelers and the great tradition and the high standards. Being a Steeler meant being a blue-collar worker with an unwavering commitment to excellence. And that's what being a Steeler meant to me, and I hope I made the Steeler Nation proud.
Throughout his career, Dermontti Dawson set an example of how to be a Hall of Fame player, and more importantly, a Hall of Fame person. Playing in 13 seasons, he showed us perseverance. Playing in 170 straight games, he showed us commitment. Playing in 7 straight Pro Bowls, he exemplified the true meaning of teamwork. In 2001, Dermontti and Regina Dawson set up the Dermontti F. and Regina M. Dawson Graduate Fellowship for outstanding prospects with academic and professional success, practicing how Hall of Famers celebrate excellence everywhere. Everybody, please welcome to the stage Hall of Famer Dermontti Dawson. Today's session is moderated by Kenny Rhoda. Rhoda currently hosts his own sports talk show at 1480 WHBC. He also works as the ringside reporter for the Lake Erie Monsters on Fox Sports and WUAB TV 43, and as a Browns and Ohio State football analyst for WEWS TV 5 News and NewsNet5.com. He was voted Cleveland's best sports talker numerous times. Please put your hands together for Kenny Rhoda.
Wow, we have a packed house here today. Hello and welcome to the Heart of a Hall of Famer. Today we feature Dermontti Dawson from the class of 2012 and from the Pittsburgh Steelers, as you heard him say there in his induction speech. Today, you're going to get to learn from a Hall of Famer what it takes to be a Hall of Famer, become a Hall of Famer. And you're going to find out that it's more than just athletic ability. As Hall of Famers, I believe there's 305 Hall of Famers now in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. All their stories are different, but there are similar characteristics that show up in each and every one of these Hall of Famers. We like to refer to them as the gold standards of character, commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence. And we'll hear from Dermontti here in a second, maybe which one of those stands out the most to him. You're going to have an opportunity as students to ask a question or two to a Pro Football Hall of Famer. So take that opportunity here today. Don't be afraid. Step up to the mic when you do. Give us your name, the school that you represent. Speak clearly, loudly, proudly, and ask your question to Dermontti Dawson here. We want to welcome all the schools that are in attendance with us here today. Green High School is here, Woodridge High School, Campbell Memorial High School, Clear Fork High School, Niles McKinley High School, Crestview High School, Lehman Middle School, and Crenshaw Middle School. They're in attendance with us here today at the Hall of Fame. And we have video conferencing going on with two schools, Spotsylvania Middle School and Forest Hills Elementary. Schools will be watching on a video conference, and they will be asking questions as well today. So that's what we have in store for you today. So let's get it started with Dermontti. And Dermontti, of the 5 gold standards of character, commitment, integrity, courage, respect, excellence, which one stands out to you the most when you look back on your career that helped you end up here in Canton?
Well, the two that stand out for me are commitment first. Because anytime you strive to do anything, you have to be committed to it. And that was important for me to teach my kids that once those guys signed up for any event, I was not going to let those guys stop or quit because they didn't like it. Once they signed up, they were going to be committed to it for a season. And I think that's important because when you don't commit to doing whatever it may be, joining a team or any organization, I think, if you allow kids to not do it because they don't like it, it teaches them that it's easy just to say, that you can quit. And you can't do that. You got to stick with it, and you got to stick it out. The second one is integrity. I think integrity is most important because each and every day, you guys are, when it comes to integrity, that's the most important. You want to make sure that people understand that you stand for something and you say you're going to do what you're going to do. Those are the two gold standards that I think are most important that will get you much further in life. Commitment and integrity. Those are the two.
Also, for people out there that may be following us on Twitter, if you have a question or a comment, hashtag it HOF Values. Steeler Nation out there, you know all about Steeler Nation. They're everywhere. So if you're following us via social media, by all means, hashtag it HOF Values, and we'll try and read some of the best tweets or questions that come to us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Looking back on your career, 13 years, you spent it with one team. That's rare these days that you get to play your entire NFL career with one football team. What was it about the Steelers organization that maybe helped make you into the player that you became and helped you end up here in Canton?
Well, for me, playing for the Steelers for 1 year, for my whole career, which is unusual nowadays because of free agency and guys are moving around chasing dollars. But for me, it was an honor to play for the Steeler organization. And it starts with the leadership, with the Rooney family, and then also with Chuck Noll. I was coached 4 years under Chuck Noll and then 9 years under Bill Cowher. And those guys had a history of stability within their organization. And for me, it was an honor to be coached by Chuck Noll and then precede Mike Webster at center my second year. I was drafted as a guard originally in 1988, and then Chuck Noll came to me and said he wants me to move me at center my second year. So really, as a guard, I thought maybe I'd be a pretty good guard, but I didn't really have a choice when Chuck Noll says I got to switch. So for me, my success came from just the coaches, allowing me to do what I did best because I was very athletic as a center or as a guard. But when I switched to center, they let me use my athleticism to kind of redefine the center position. And they just allowed me to the maturation process and gave me the time to kind of fit into the center position after I took over from Mike. And then, the rest is history.
Yeah, and if you go back and you look at the Steelers, very few head coaches, very few centers over the last 25 to 30 years. Mike Webster, a Hall of Famer here in Canton, followed by Dermontti Dawson. So that position, sometimes you wonder about the quarterback position being so important, and it is in the NFL. But the center position, you're the one calling out the signals to your line mates. You're looking at the defense. You're just as important as you step to that line of scrimmage as the quarterback is, making sure everybody's on the same page, correct?
Oh, yeah. We're pretty much the quarterback of the offensive line. So we get up in certain situations, and we practice throughout the course of the week making adjustments. But it's my responsibility because I'm right in the middle, and I get a chance to see the defenses, whether it be the coverages or the defense itself, the alignments. So I have to make calls and communicate those front side and back side to the other offensive linemen, as well as the quarterback and also the running back. So everybody knows what page they're going to be on and who they have to block when I make those adjustments. So third down situations are a little different because you're looking at coverages. And so you have to be smart and know what guys are doing and making those shifts. Safeties coming down and corner blitzes and linebackers, trying to engage you in certain gaps and wanting you to make a mistake by going somewhere else. But you have to be able to think and make split. My mouth is dry here. Split-second decisions. When you're up on the line of scrimmage making the adjustments. So it's a tough position to play, but you have to be pretty smart to play that position as well.
Was football always your sport growing up as a kid?
No, I was a better baseball player. I tell people I didn't start football until late. I played 1 year in my 9th grade year, played tight end, and of course, I didn't quit the team, but I didn't like playing tight end. I wanted to play running back because I was pretty fast at that time. So, I skipped a few practices, so I really didn't play much. And then my 10th grade year, I ran track. I've always ran track from elementary, middle, and high school. But in high school, I wasn't going to play football because I just didn't feel like that was what I wanted to do. I really wanted to be in the Olympics because I threw the shot and discus. And I was state champion, undefeated 2 years in the state of Kentucky for shot and discus. But football was not my first love. It was baseball and track and field. And then I had my coach who presented me at the Hall of Fame, Steve Parker. He came to me after coming out of biology class and, put his arms around me and said, where have you been all my life? Because I've been the same height since, 9th grade, but I was like 250 pounds. So I was much larger than most of the guys in school, but I wasn't on the football team. So he said, hey, you got to play football. So he had two of my teammates, Mark Logan and Cornell Burbage, who were at the enshrinement as well. They convinced me to go out and play football. And I played football and played defense and offensive tackle both my junior and senior year. And then I ended up having scholarship offers to multiple schools.
What was it like being recruited? Because we just finished up with National Letter of Intent Day recently, and we hear so much about the recruiting process, and they rank the kids and the classes. Back then, it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. So give our students out here an idea of what it was like being recruited and how you decided on, finally going to Kentucky.
Well, the recruiting process is a strenuous process as well, especially if you're heavily recruited. Because you get all these letters from different colleges, you got to send the questionnaires back. And, of course, your parents have to be an integral part of the process as well. But, my advice to people who are being recruited, look at the college and make sure that the college is best suited for you for whatever it is you want to pursue in college, whatever degree you want to pursue. Sometimes I think a lot of athletes and a lot of kids go to schools that they're powerhouses, because they're popular, as opposed to going to a school where you're going to fit in much better, and that gives you a much better chance. But the recruiting process, it's just it's a tough, difficult process, and I think it's gotten worse from when I was coming out of school.
And you mentioned about the recruiting process and picking a school that's best suited for you, not just as far as athletics. You were telling me about your
academics,
kids.
Yeah, academically.
And your kids went to 2 totally different schools, but it suited them for what they wanted to achieve and move on as far as the business world.
And, and plus, my kids, my son went to Full Sail University down in Winter Park, Florida, and graduated with a degree in game design and computer arts. And he lives down in Winter Park, Florida now. My daughter, she attended 2 years of pharmacy school at the University of Kentucky, and then she said, Mom, Dad, I don't think I want to do pharmacy anymore. So she took a whole different route and went to culinary school. And so she graduates, she's got 1 more semester left, or 1 more quarter, and she graduates in June of this year, June or July. I can't remember when the quarter ends, but 2 different routes. But I mean, my daughter knew what she wanted to do, so we made sure she went to UK pharmacy school because it was one of the best in the country. Yeah. And then Full Sail University was renowned for game design and computer art. So we wanted to make sure that my son was able to go to a school that best suited his interests as well. So I think that's what you have to do when you're in the process of mixing athletics with education. I think you have to pick a university that fits you as far as your degree and what you want to pursue for the future.
And not just with athletics.
Even
if
it's
you're
got to
not
be
going
academic
for,
based.
Yeah, make sure the academic area is a school. I know in broadcasting you always hear about Syracuse as a big broadcasting school. I went to Baldwin-Wallace, and it was a good fit for me because I wanted to go to a smaller school, but I wanted to get away from home. So in life, you adjust, and you hope you make the right decisions. But sometimes you make the wrong decisions. You face adversity. Take me through some of the adversity you faced maybe growing up in high school, college, and even in the pros.
Well, growing up, my father, I dealt with adversity with my father. My father was an alcoholic for, all throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, and all the way through the first 2 years of my college career. And that was, seeing my mom. I've got 4 brothers, and I'm the oldest, and my other brother is 4 years younger. Then there's a 10-year difference and an 11-year difference. So having to be the responsible son and watching my brother, who's 4 years younger, when my mom had to go to work because she couldn't afford daycare, I would stay home during the summer or whenever we had breaks, and my brother would stay with me as well. So I had a lot of grown-up responsibilities young as a child where I had to make grown-up decisions, and I had to grow up a little faster than most kids, and I didn't have the average childhood when it came to growing up and just playing and everything else without the responsibilities. But I think that made me a better person too. It made me more responsible. But those are some of the adverse, things that I had to deal with when I was growing up. In high school, I really didn't face a whole lot of adversity in high school, except for my father still being, struggling with alcoholism and having to deal with that, him in the hospital, in VA. He was an Air Force veteran, so I was always at the VA when he was going to AA meetings and having treatment. So, having to deal with that with my mom and my dad being sick and the responsibility of taking care of my brothers. Those are some of the, the adversity that I had to face when I was young coming up. And that teaches you lessons too. I could have made excuses that just because my father wasn't there, that I'm going to go out and hang out with the bad crowd, and drink and smoke and everything else, and which I never did. I've just always been an easygoing, responsible kind of guy, and I've been that way my whole life. But I think some of those incidents have kind of shaped me into the adult that I am today.
Everybody's going to face adversity in life, whether it's as a teenager, middle age, the millennials today, and everything with everything that you guys are going through today's election day here in Ohio, and with everything changing, you never know what it's going to be. So you've got to be able to overcome adversity like Dermontti did, and in the long run, it will make you a stronger and a better person. So don't think that when you're facing adversity, it's just you. Everybody faces adversity at some point in their life. And so you have to look at the bigger picture, look to the future, and if you can overcome, great things can happen. Here's a perfect example right here, ending up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Questions for Dermontti. Don't be bashful, don't be shy. The microphone is set up right there in the middle of the aisle. For those of you that have a question, just walk on up, state your name, the school that you represent, and feel free to ask a question. How many times do you get to talk to a Pro Football Hall of Famer?
Ask anything, guys. Don't be shy.
Yeah, he's willing to answer. Your name, the school you represent, and then go ahead with your question for Dermontti.
Richard Palmer from Niles McKinley High School. If you had to pick one word to describe your football journey, what would it be and why?
If I had to pick a journey and why, descriptive word. Adventure, because you have your ups and downs, and you don't know what your future has in hold as well for you. Going from high school, I never thought I was good enough playing football to get a scholarship, and then here I am. I get multiple scholarships to SEC schools, Division I schools, and then once I chose UK, University of Kentucky, to attend for my education and football. I didn't start until my junior year, even though I was probably better than some of the guys we had in front of me, but I still had to wait my turn. I didn't leave the school to go to another school because I felt like I was slighted. I just kind of hung in there and kept working and trying to improve myself because I knew there was going to become a day where I had the opportunity to play. Then I get my chance to start my junior year. I have a pretty good season, and then my senior year I have an outstanding season playing in the SEC and made second team all SEC, and next thing you know, here I am. I didn't have any clue that I was going to be drafted until I started getting some letters from teams. Next thing you know, I get invited to Combine and the East-West game and also the Senior Bowl, which is probably the most important bowl game for college athletes coming out, football players anyway, because you have all the GMs and scouts that attend that game. And then next thing you know, I'm not on the radar as a high draft choice. Because I was a smaller guy. I only weighed like 288 in college, but I was athletic and strong. And so after invited to Combine and also the Senior Bowl, and I had outstanding games and also testing at the Combine, next thing you know, I'm ranked as a top center coming out because I played center in the Senior Bowl, and that gave me an opportunity to kind of up my draft status. And next thing you know, then I get drafted in the second round to Pittsburgh. Almost got drafted in the first round by the Giants, but Parcells thought I was too small. So he took Eric Moore out of Indiana, and the Steelers took me in the second round, which was a blessing to be there. So that's how it all happened. You just never know what your future has to hold for you. So, hey, you just got to keep on going. Keep on going.
Roll with the punches.
Yeah.
The adversity, the adventure, like you said, the ups and downs, and the never say die attitude.
And I was committed to making sure that I was the best on the field, and whether it be in the weight room, whether it be on the field, I was always waiting my turn and making sure that I was heads above the guys that were before me, so that when I had my opportunity, I could seize that moment.
Go ahead, name, school you represent, and with your question for Dermontti.
My name is Kalen Hannes. I'm from Utica Shale Academy. Who in the Hall of Fame is someone you admire and looked up to during your career?
Who I identified with in the Hall of Fame, Dwight Stevenson, who played for Miami. I wore number 57 in college because of Dwight Stevenson. One of my coaches told me, he said, you're just as athletic and as fast as Dwight Stevenson. So I ended up starting to look at some of the Miami tape, and people were comparing me to him. So that's who I kind of looked up to when I was in college. I didn't follow football a whole lot when I was in high school, but when I was in college, that's when I started watching the games. And Dwight Stevenson was one of the Hall of Famers who I identified with and started to kind of follow.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you. We met upstairs. We talked. You were on my radio show last week. You're a very kind-hearted, very calm, cool person. When you hit the football field, was there a different person out there? Did you flip a switch? Did you, we hear about the blue-collar workers of the Pittsburgh Steelers on the O-line, the D-line, the nastiness. Was there a different identity once you hit the field?
Yeah, I mean, that's your job. I get that all the time, when I'm in different places. People say, well, you're so nice, but, why were you so violent on the field? I said, well, you have to turn on a switch. That's your job when you're on the field playing. You got to be able to turn it on and turn it off. Some of the guys that I see nowadays, they have a problem turning it off the field, and they get in trouble. Hey, you only in the realm of the football field, that's where you turn it on and you're aggressive but that's your job and that's what you have to do. But when you're off the field, then you're just a regular citizen. But we all have a switch we can turn on and off. And I think you have to be able to do that to be a good player. You can be mild-mannered, but once you're on the football field, everybody, it's a tough place to be, and you have to be physical, and you have to be able to turn it on. So, yeah, I do have a switch that I can turn on.
Yeah, obviously, and it worked.
When I need it.
Yeah, yeah. When you needed it, it worked, and it
yes,
worked
indeed.
very well.
Yes.
All right, we're going to check in with, Forest Hills Elementary School in Sidman, Pennsylvania. They've got a question for you, Dermontti, on the conference video conference call here. So let's try and hook up with them and see if we have that question.
Hello, Mr. Dawson.
How are you?
We are wonderful. We are huge Steelers fans here in Forest Hills, Sidman, Pennsylvania. We are so thrilled to be talking with you. Our first student is Zach. He has his first question for you.
Hello, Mr. Dawson.
Zach,
in 2006,
how are you?
you spoke to a group of students at your former middle school. You told them, don't stand for status quo. Try to do over and above what people are asking for. That's the only way you're going to make it in this world. That is great advice, both on and off the playing field. What other advice can you give young people about how to develop their character?
Well, through experiences, character building is something that, is established when you're young, but it still continues to change and evolve through life experiences, and we're products of what we've been exposed to. And when you take some of these events that throughout your course of your life, those things help you develop character. Because each and every day, everybody in this room, every day, our character is challenged, it's changed, and it's something that I'm trying to think. It's challenged each and every day, and every person that you meet, they judge you by your character, and your parents judge you by your character, your teachers judge you, they make decisions based on whether or not, if you have integrity, if you're going to do what you say you're going to do, there's those are ways that I think that you help build, integrity and character, just through life experiences and how you kind of handle certain situations.
The first part of his comment there, when you spoke to that school, was go above and beyond, do more than you're asked. Is that something that was instilled in you at a younger age, or because of what you had to deal with at home, that was just something that you took with you when you played high school football, college, and in the NFL?
Well, I've always been that way, and I think it did stem from my grandmother and my mother and those guys, and also just dealing with the adversity of my dad when he was dealing with alcoholism. I think sometimes I do tend to go over and above what I need to do, but that's just my personality, and not everybody's kind of wired that way. So everybody's kind of different in the way they kind of handle situations. But for me, that's just the way I am and the way I'm wired.
It's interesting because in my field, radio, TV, we get a lot of interns that come in and they want to get into our field. Mm-hmm. And they always ask, what can I do to get noticed? And I always tell them, well, whatever you're asked to do that and then some. If you're the person that's finishing your task on time, and then you're willing to offer your services, stay beyond your time that you're supposed to be there, you get recognized. That stands out. I know I've worked for a number of different radio stations, and I don't want to say every time, but a lot of the times, the interns that we've had, I can tell which interns are going to be successful in our field and which ones are going to struggle and maybe not be as successful because they were asking questions, they were doing more than they were asked to do, they were always there and going above and beyond. And so for me, I'm the same way. I over-prepare and I try and over-deliver, and that gained the respect of my coworkers, my bosses, and has allowed me to do this, I think, for over 30 years.
Yeah, that goes with football as well. Just because I was team captain for like 7 years, and when you go over and above what you are asked to do, people respect that. And so I didn't have a problem with the coaches knowing that, okay, well, we had scheduled film study, but of course I'm looking at more film in the film room by myself and with some of the offensive linemen. Then also, on the field, they know that I'm going to be there each and every day, practice, with a purpose, and make sure that I continue to try to improve myself. And that's what you have to do. You have to go over and above what's asked of you in order to achieve, greatness. And that's something you just have to continue to work at, and it did me well. It helped me throughout my whole career.
Other questions for Dermontti? Step on up to the microphone again, state your name, the school you represent, and go ahead with your question.
I'm Thomas Staub from Clear Fork High School. The gold standards of character are courage, commitment, respect, integrity, and excellence. Which is the most meaningful to you?
The most meaningful for me is integrity. When you are asked to do something, and when you have integrity and you act with integrity, it's key, because people know that you are going to do what you say you're going to do. They know your character. They know who you are. They know your values. They know what you stand for. And I think doing things with integrity is key. And to me, that's the most important, gold standard. And I'm telling you, integrity can take you much further than anything in this world, because people know who you are. They know that you're sincere. They know that you're intelligent. They know that you're going to do things that aren't asked of you. You're going to go the extra yard. And I think that kind of carries over, and that'll help you in business. It helps you in life. It helps you on the field. So the one gold standard that I think is most important is integrity.
Thank you for your question. How important was it for you to have the respect of your teammates?
Well, it's very important, because, me as a leader, nobody is going to follow you unless they truly believe in you as a person. That, if you're going to do what you have, that you say you're going to do, if you're going to go above and do, prepare, say, for a game, preparing and make sure that you understand and know, what some of the adjustments are, and all the calls that you have to incorporate each and every week. I think it's paramount. It's paramount.
All right, we've got a question coming from our video conference. Tisdale School in Ramsey, New Jersey has a question for Dermontti. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm here with my third graders. I have two friends, Justin and Evan, that would like to ask you a question.
We have a question about your second season when you moved to center. And what were your thoughts and feelings when you found out that you were taking on a new position at center? How did you overcome those feelings?
Well, when I took over for Mike my second year, there was a lot of, that was the thing. I was preceding a legend, in Mike Webster, and me as a second-year player, being a guard originally, and then switching over to a center. Those are big shoes to fill, and that's a lot of pressure on a person. So what I was asking the media, I said, just give me time to kind of learn the position. And just see how, and let me get comfortable, and let me just learn how to play the center position. and then, kind of evaluate me after that. But, after the first year, I did pretty well. And then the second year, I started to come into my own. So, it was an adjustment. It was an adjustment. And I tried not to put too much pressure on myself. I just tried to take it in stride and made sure that, I was working hard in practice, asking the coaches and watching extra film, asking coaches for advice. I worked hard at it to make sure that I learned the center position. But after that, after my first or second year, it was easy from there on.
Very easy. 7-time Pro Bowler, 6-time All-Pro, 1990 All-Decade team, 13 years with one team, 3 AFC Championship games, played in Super Bowl 30. He and I were talking about that upstairs a little bit. Sometimes there are tricks to the trade to gain an advantage. And in that Super Bowl, you were telling me, because you had a bad snap, which was a rarity for you as one of the most dominant centers in the National Football League at that time. And there was a reason for that bad snap. Just share with our students and everybody here today and everybody watching on the video conference a little bit about what went on in Super Bowl 30 against the Cowboys.
Well, at that time, when I was playing, illegal substances they could put on their jerseys, like Armor All. I know some of our defensive linemen used to do it as well. They go in a room and they'd squirt Armor All over their jersey. So it gets on your gloves, it gets on your hands, it gets on everything, and it's slick. And for me, that's a disadvantage being a center. And plus, I don't have the longest fingers, so I had to wear gloves in order to kind of grasp the ball. So the biggest game of the year, Super Bowl 30, all eyes are on us. Next thing you know, they must have done it. I didn't feel the Armor All on my gloves and stuff during the first half, but the second half, or second half, is when I felt the Armor All on my gloves. So everything was slick. So I took my gloves off, and of course I can't grasp the ball, and so I snapped the ball. I try to rotate my hand up under the ball to kind of put it in my hand and then kind of snap it, but I flicked it just a little too hard, and it only takes a small deviation and a little velocity with the ball going back there, and it goes over Neil's head, and luckily he recovered it, thank goodness, and they didn't turn the ball over. But that was one of the things that kind of happened in Super Bowl 30 that people ask me about. And I say, well, that's probably my most embarrassing moment as a player, snapping the ball over Neil's head in the biggest game of the year, So, but, things like that happen.
Yeah, and that's adversity again. You overcome that and got back in the game. Unfortunately, you didn't win as a Steeler fan myself, but you put up a good fight with the Dallas Cowboys team that won, 3 Super Bowls in 4 years?
In 4 years, yeah. We just ran out of time. We had a chance. We had a chance.
Any other questions here for Dermontti? Step on up again. Your name, the school you represent, and go ahead with your question.
Hi, Shayla Williams from Woodridge High School. What is the biggest life lesson your parents taught you while growing up?
The biggest life lesson my parents taught me growing up, well, I guess through experience, is just responsibility and accountability. For me, having to take care of my younger brothers, that kind of made me grow up a little faster than most kids, because, I had the responsibility of making sure those guys were taken care of, where my mom was working and my dad was out of the house. And just being accountable to my mom as well. And making sure that I didn't neglect my brother, because you know how sometimes younger brothers are, they bug you and you don't want them around. So, and I'm hanging out with my buddies who are a little older, so I didn't want him kind of hanging with us. But, I had to make sure that I was accountable towards my mom and responsible as well, making sure that she knew that I was going to take care of him throughout the course of the day. So yeah, those are the two.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dermontti? Step on up. Don't be bashful. Here's your opportunity to talk to a Hall of Famer. Go ahead.
My name is Cortland, and I'm from Lehman Middle School. Can you describe your alter egos, Ned Flanders and Dirt?
Okay.
Well, hey, Dirt got cut down from Dirty D when I was in college. I used to wear these forearm pads, and as a pulling guard, I was always chasing linebackers. So I used to wear these forearm pads, and the first thing I used to try to do when I was coming after a linebacker, or it could be a defensive end if I was trapping, I try to throw a little forearm in his chest and go up under his chin, so his head would snap back a little bit. So, and you know, once you get them on their toes, then you can manhandle them and put them down on the ground. But one of my teammates, Cornell Burbage, he said, man, he started calling me Dirty D, because he said, boy, you hit these guys with that forearm, boy, the head that snaps back. And so I got that name. I wasn't a dirty player, but that was legal at that time. So that was how the dirt, or the Dirty D, became Dirt, when Ron Blackledge started just calling it, shortening it up to Dirt. And then Ned Flanders came from Levon Kirkland, one of my best friends on the team. And every morning, I'm a morning person, so I'm very happy in the morning. So I'm coming in and I'm singing and just happy, saying hello to everybody at stadium. And so Levon Kirkland started in front of the media. Well, he started in practice, and he said, "Why are you always happy every morning?" I said, "I have nothing to be sad about. Hey, got the best job in the world, playing professional football, living a dream." And so he started calling me Ned Flanders. And so he started calling me that in front of the media, and the media picked it up. And so that's where I got the name Ned Flanders.
Great question. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Next question, and then I'll throw one your way after we get this young gentleman's question. Go ahead.
Camden from Clear Fork High School. And what influence did your high school coach, Coach Steve Parker, have on your character?
Well, I tell you what, Coach Parker, I'm trying to think the impact he had on my character. Coach Parker, at the time when he wanted me to try to go out and play football, he was a young coach, and he said, I may not know everything, but he said, I'll try to teach you as much as I know. He's just a young coach just starting out. I'm just trying to think what, he imparted in me. I guess one of the gold standards that I kind of struggle with sometimes, courage, is that, because sometimes, depending on the situation, say if I have to address like a large crowd, sometimes I get a little intimidated. And I thought, because I had the bad experience playing in middle school football, that I wasn't going to play in high school. And so, he kind of, told me to say, hey, you need to play. He said, you're big enough, you're athletic enough, you're on the track team. He said, you could be a great football player. So he just kind of instilled in me, I guess, a little bit more confidence, I guess, in myself and my abilities. So I think that's what he imparted in me. Just that confidence, giving myself a little confidence and believing in my abilities. So that's what he imparted in me.
Thank you for your question. You mentioned earlier you played for Chuck Noll, Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
You replaced Mike Webster, Hall of Famer. Bill Cowher, an outstanding coach. So those three individuals right there, what did each one of them mean to you? How did they each help you, maybe in a different way?
Well, being coach under Chuck Noll, and Chuck Noll, he only had a chance to play 4 years under Coach Noll. And Coach Noll was I call him a Renaissance man. He knew something about everything. This was the smartest man I've ever met. He would come into team meetings and he'd talk about philosophy. And that would be part of our morning talk. He knew something about everything. And, he allowed the coaches to kind of coach, but just knowing what he had accomplished as a coach. And I kind of looked at Coach Noll as a father figure at that time. And, he was highly, to me, he was a legend.
His nickname was the Emperor.
The Emperor, yeah. And he was a legend to me. So I'm kind of like, in awe of just being able to have a conversation with Coach Noll. And then, having Mike Webster playing beside Mike, who I preceded. Mike, my rookie year, I would come into the stadium like early in the morning and get, lift weights and do all of our film work. So I'd get there early in the morning. Mike would be there before I was. And Mike, in his 15th year, my rookie year, Mike would be the first one in drills. He would be the first one. He was writing everything down on a notepad, taking notes about whatever the game plan was for that particular week. And Mike probably knew more than the coordinator we had because he had been in the system, longer than the coordinator. So, and I'd ask Mike, and Mike was never shy to even, help me if I had a question. I'd always ask Mike. And so what I tried to do, I tried to emulate Mike. Once Mike left and I took over the center position, I made sure that I was the first in line, whether it be an offensive drill or defensive drill. And the coaches kind of took notice to that. So, and that kind of made me a leader on the offense, and then I became team captain after that. So both Chuck Noll and Mike Webster were instrumental in my success because I tried to emulate, some of the character, the values and stuff, and some of the things they did as well.
What about Bill Cowher? How was he different from Chuck Noll, and how did he affect you?
Well, Bill Cowher was just, he was an in-your-face kind of guy. He was a player's coach because Bill Cowher would be right down there. He'd be hitting guys with no pads on and, yelling and screaming. And I know he's kind of known for, when he talks sometimes, you kind of spit in your face a little bit. So you don't try to get too close when he's yelling and stuff. But he was just one of those kind of in-your-face kind of guys. And he also allowed us as players to have input into every aspect of the game plan. We could make adjustments. If we didn't like plays, we could make adjustments as an offense. If we didn't like certain calls. He also, it wasn't his way or the highway. He allowed us, he named like offensive captain, defensive captain, special teams captain, where he had guys, certain guys that we could go into his office and talk about certain issues, whether it be for player disciplinary, whether it be plays or anything. So he was a more, I guess, just more liberal, I guess, as far as when it came to allowing us to have a voice.
All right, let's go back to more questions from any of the students here. Step on up if you have one. Go ahead, your name, the school you represent, and the question.
Darian, Utica Shale Academy. Who is your hero and why?
Who is my hero? I would have to say my mom was my hero and my grandmother. Because when my father wasn't there, my mother raised 4 boys and worked, she worked multiple jobs. She had 2 jobs at one point. I get a little emotional sometimes.
That's when you know somebody really had an impact on your life.
Yeah, my mom, boy, she was something else. And she's still living to this day, but for her to raise 4 boys, under some of the adverse circumstances she had to deal with my father, it was tough. It was tough. And, my mom she's always been my hero. I didn't mean to get emotional on you guys, but she held down the fort for me and my brothers. We never had a need for anything. She worked, and of course the support of my grandmother as well, who was my mom's mom, and she helped support us as well through those tough times when my dad wasn't there. So she is my truly hero.
And it's interesting, I've done a number of these Heart of a Hall of Famer events, and a lot of times there have been extreme adverse situations in some of the Hall of Famers' lives. And that person, whether it was a coach, your mom, whether it was a father or an aunt, an uncle, made an impact on a Hall of Famer, and because of the tough situations that they went through and that they were able to overcome, it's not a surprise that they've ended up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Because you see a lot of people in life, things are handed to them. Things are given to them. Life's been extremely easy for them, and they get to the highest level and they don't succeed. There's a quarterback that's no longer with the Cleveland Browns that fits that mold, where it was pretty much given to him, and life was easy for him. And he's having trouble at the highest level. And then you hear Dermontti's story about how as a child he had to take care of his brothers in that and do the extra work and be more accountable, more responsible. And here he is in Canton in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So in doing these, I hear a lot of these stories that I can understand why some of these guys are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, because of what they dealt with as a child growing up and how they had to grow up sooner maybe than most kids had to.
Yeah. And it's not easy. It's not easy. And you learn a lot of lessons from from adversity, and you can either accept it or you can let it affect you in a negative way, which you can't. I think you have to rise above it. And it's amazing. It's just, for me, because I did have to grow up a little sooner than most kids and didn't have the normal childhood, trying to find where my father was and make sure he was okay, and in VA when he's going through AA, and, having falls and going to the hospital and being brought home, all those things as a child, boy, and seeing that, it takes a toll on you after a while.
It's adversity, but it's a challenge as well. And
it is.
Are you ready to meet the challenge? And you did back then, and then it carried over into your career in high school, Kentucky, and then with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he ended up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Let's go back to Spotsylvania Middle School in Spotsylvania, Virginia. They have a question for you, Dermontti. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Mike. And I'm Blake. What team did you want to be drafted by?
What team did I want to be drafted by? For me, coming out of college, I really didn't care. All I wanted to do was be drafted. It didn't matter what team. As a college player, I don't care. I wasn't choosy. So, hey, whatever team drafted me, I was going to be happy and content.
When you got word it was the Steelers, what was your reaction?
I knew my agent at the time. He knew that the Steelers were looking at a pulling guard, athletic guard, such as myself. And once I was drafted, I got the call from, I can't remember who it was that called me from the Steeler organization, but I was at home watching the draft on television, and I received the phone call saying they were going to draft me in the second round with the next pick. So, of course, I'm elated. The news media came to the house, but I'm happy just to go anywhere, to tell you the truth. But once I found out it was the Steelers and they had the same system which we ran in college, I thought it was going to be a perfect fit for me, and it was.
Other questions from the audience? Again, your name, the school you represent. Go ahead.
Jordan Murphy, Crestview High School. Who was the toughest player you've ever played against, and why?
I'd say the toughest player I played against was probably, and this was my second year, my first year at center. Jerry Ball was a perennial Pro Bowler, nose guard, who played for Detroit, for the Lions. Jerry Ball was probably maybe 5'10", 5'11", but he weighed about 320, 330 pounds. He was quick as lightning. We had a trapping offense with the Steelers. And the first game that I played, a regular season game, this was a preseason game, actually, in Detroit, playing against Jerry Ball, I didn't think I could block him. I was pretty good. I was pretty good in athletic center, but man, Jerry Ball, he was in the gaps. He was penetrating. He was knocking the guard off of his path. And I'd come to the sideline. I said, Coach, I can't block him. I cannot block him. I was just overthinking it. That was probably the worst, or my introduction to the NFL from a perennial Pro Bowl nose guard playing against Jerry Ball. So Jerry Ball was probably the first true, guy that really gave me trouble at the center position. But, once I calmed down, the second half, then I composed myself, didn't overthink things, and then I handled them a little bit better in the second half. But after that first game, I never had a problem.
Thank you for your question. Good question. Teammates, which teammates do you remember, and for whatever reason, when you think back on your 13 years in Pittsburgh, which teammates stood out?
Let me see. I got LaVon Kirkland, who is one of my best friends because he's a jokester. Jonathan Hayes, who came from Kansas City. He was a tight end. Jonathan and I were roommates, and I used to go to St. Louis and ride horses. He used to do cutting horses. So I used to go with him to his farm and ride cutting horses. Merle Hodge, Merle and I hunted together. Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green.
And what did it mean? What did it mean to you to find out this year that Kevin Green was elected for the 2016 class, and he's going to be here in August?
It was great. It was great, and well-deserved as well. Kevin was one of the best outside linebackers to play the game, and just a heck of an athlete and a good person as well. That's what you like to see. It happen to good people, and Kevin is a great guy. But those are some of the teammates that kind of stand out. Jerome as well. Jerome was a jokester, always in the locker room cutting jokes and laughing at guys. Hines Ward, all those guys are great guys, and that's what you really miss. You miss that camaraderie with your teammates once you're departed from the game. That's what you really miss. It's just that locker room atmosphere. That's the biggest thing you miss when you leave the game.
And besides teammates, we hear so much about Steeler Nation. Myron Cope, the Terrible Towels. You see them everywhere on the road. Browns games in recent years have actually turned out to be Steeler home games because they make the trip up there. What is it about the fans in Pittsburgh that follow the Steelers wherever they play and wherever players go for events? You were just on the cruise recently, and that was jam-packed.
It was jam-packed. The Steeler fans are the best in the world, I'm telling you. They go everywhere the Steelers go. We did a fundraising cruise 2 years ago through the Leadership League in Pittsburgh, and that raises monies for different charities throughout Pittsburgh. The first cruise we went on in 2014, we had over 2,000 Steeler fans that came on that cruise with us. We just did another Leadership League cruise to raise money for various charities as well, just this past March. February. So February. So we had just a little over 1,100 fans this time. But I don't care where you go. I live in San Diego now, and when I went to the Steelers game against San Diego, it was more black and gold, more Terrible Towels waving than Charger fans. Everywhere you go, Steeler fans are phenomenal, and it's just a history. I think just that blue-collar mentality and blue-collar workmanship that they love, and they just love the team. They love the Rooney family. They love the Steeler organization, and they follow the team no matter where they go.
Tell them about the cruise. What happened on this cruise that you were on?
Well, I've been on many a cruise throughout my life. This year was the first year. We were on our way to Cozumel, Mexico. And so my room was right beside one of the lifeboats. So we stopped, and this is right, and I knew we were going to be at port at about 1:30. So this is early in the morning. So I hear one of the lifeboats being hoisted down, and I look out the window, and we see this vessel that's kind of out, kind of far away from us. And as we get a little closer, you could see it was a makeshift raft with a makeshift sail, and it had some like 55-gallon drums tied to the ends of it where they had fresh water. But it was Cuban refugees that we had to stop and assist going to Cozumel. So there were 16 people on this small little makeshift raft. There was one child, one woman, and 14 men. They had been adrift at sea for over 2 weeks, and we had to assist those guys. And lifeboats came and took them, brought them back to the boats. And when we got to Cozumel, then the authorities came and they had to contain them. So, yeah, of all the times I've been on a cruise, that's the first time that I've ever seen that, having to aid, refugees trying to escape Cuba.
Interesting experiences in life. You
and
just
then,
never
and
know.
then, no, you don't. And then James Harrison kind of tweeted out, and next thing you know, that was national news about the Cuban refugees. And they knew it was a SEALer cruise, so of course, I think it was in the Pittsburgh papers as well and on the news there also.
Yeah, and then all over social media,
Yeah,
Steeler
yeah,
Nation
yeah,
picks it
yeah.
up and goes with it. Any other questions from students? Step on up, name, school, and go ahead with your question for Dermontti.
Anthony Dursa and Niles McKinley. You attended the NFL Alumni's golf outing in New Jersey, which gave back to kids. Why do you think giving back to the community is important?
Well, I mean, it's always important to give back. And for us being ex-athletes, and people tend to, especially when you get a group of ex-athletes that, come to support a cause, I think it's imperative that, we as athletes do that to kind of attract, the sponsors and be able to raise more money for certain charities. And we've done it for Wounded Warriors as well in Jersey also, where we helped raise money for the personal transport vehicles for some of the Wounded Warrior soldiers, and even boats as well, where they make the conversions for the boats, where they can go on the boats also. But I think it's our duty as just not just ex-athletes, but just people in general to give back and help other causes, because everybody needs a helping hand. So we have a platform where we can draw and attract bigger crowds to raise more money for whatever certain charity it may be. So I think it's imperative that we all do that.
Thank you for your question. Dermontti, for the students that are here today and the ones watching on the video conference, their life is ahead of them.
Oh, yeah.
Advice. What advice would you give these students, whether they're pursuing a career maybe in athletics, business, whatever their choice is as far as majors going off to college, and also, and you mentioned this earlier about integrity in dealing with the people that you surround yourself with. What advice would you give them?
Well, that's important, as far as who you surround yourself with. I used to tell a story about me and one of my good friends from high school. We kind of took two different directions when it came to our friends. He had a bunch of friends. He started out, it started out with smoking, marijuana and hanging out and skipping school, and then it turned into heroin, and then he got thrown in jail, and then he contracted HIV, and he's still HIV positive, and he's still in jail to this day, and I always go see him. But I used to parallel our lives, but when especially you guys right now, because you guys are heading into college, it's imperative who your friends are. You want friends who are going to help uplift you as opposed to bring you down. And it's imperative that you choose those right friends, because, that can have a lasting effect. You can be some of the brightest students, some of the best athletes, but if you hang out with the wrong people, it only takes one incident to bring you down. And I think it's imperative. And then also, no matter what you try to do, try to be the best at it. Why be mediocre as opposed to be great at what you do? Whether that be in the classroom or whether it be on the field. Try to be the best you can be. Go and do, over and above what's asked of you, and just try to be. My college coach, Jerry Claiborne, used to always say, "Men, you got to be the best. You got to be the best." That was his motto to us as players, collegiate players. And he said that goes. I don't care if it's being, a family man, being a husband, being a father. Be the best you can be, and don't be mediocre. Just try to accomplish and be the best person, best student, best athlete you can be.
Put your hands together. Dermontti Dawson, Hall of Famer. Dermontti, thanks so much for your time. We want to thank everybody for coming today. Hopefully you learned some great lessons from a Hall of Famer and what it takes to be a Hall of Famer. Dermontti's going to be here. We asked no autographs, but if you want to come up, say hello, take a quick photo, you can do that. Otherwise, you can head to the exits and head back to your schools. Thanks again for coming out today. Well done, my friend.